So I'm here with Justin Holland, CEO of AE5 Enterprises, business partner to NBA All-Star Anthony Edwards with Minnesota Timberwolves. Justin's a big deal. I'm excited here to be with you. My name is Tony Wells. I'm your host of the Hope and Hustle Experience. Manager of Raven Johnson, two-time NCAA world champ. Also was voted as one of the top 100 business leaders in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and recently nominated, and if I'm mistaken, you actually selected as 40 under 40. So thank you for being here, Justin.
No problem, Tony, man. I appreciate you inviting me, man.
Oh, you got it, brother. Sure. Thank you so much. So my question for you is, as I'm hoping to inspire, the younger generation. I think it's important for people to get to know you and who you are. Can you tell me a little bit about like your childhood and what was it like, growing up, and where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Born and raised. You really, it's not many of those anymore. It's a lot of implants now. But born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Born to mom Sarah Holland, daddy Tommy Holland, and I have a younger sister about 10 years apart, Bethany Holland.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And now, in regards to your love for the game of basketball, I mean, when did that start?
Oh man, it started early because so my dad was like the coach. He was a little league coach. So my dad he was the coach around town. He was the guy that always picked up the little kids, and we would load up his truck and we would go to basketball practice. So for me, basketball, I fell in love with the game of basketball fairly early. I think the first time I played organized ball I was about 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's your dad bringing you, and
yeah. My dad was he was a sports guy. So back in the day we played outside all day, and then we would get ready for practice, and I started early.
Yeah. And now your daddy recently passed, is that right?
Yeah.
And you and him were pretty close.
Yeah, that was my guy, man. He was a man's man. He was one of those guys that stood on principles, and a lot of the things that I do today, I got it honest. I definitely got it from him.
Did you ever go to college?
Yeah.
You did. Where'd you go?
I ended up playing collegiate basketball at Liberty University in Virginia.
Okay.
Yep, Division I.
Wow.
Yep, 4-year scholarship there.
So when did your heart to train, young athletes, I guess, when did that come in from? Were you in college still, or were you out of college?
Yeah, so I was actually out of college. Like most athletes, I thought I was going to the NBA. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Then you reach a point where you either lose love for the game or things don't really pan out the way you think that they're going to pan out.
Yeah.
And for me, I was battling injury. I wasn't in the best situation at college. So my college experience as far as basketball didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to turn out. So I ended up graduating with a degree in business marketing and management.
Okay.
Coming back home and actually got a phone call from one of my old coaches that knew I was graduating, and he was getting a promotion to be over the recreation department. And he called me. He's like, man, I'm getting a promotion and to be the director of the rec department down in College Park.
Yeah.
Would you mind? I would love for you to come get a job and take my job, and you can run. You could be the recreation coordinator for the city of College Park, which would it would put me over aquatics, and main thing being basketball, seniors activities, and just pretty much a really community job.
Like how many kids would run through like the basketball program?
Man, we had the largest program in the state of Georgia, so we had about 400 kids in our program.
Wow. Okay.
So when I got the job, so the city of College Park's basketball program is probably the number one program in the state of Georgia.
What like age groups?
They start probably at 4, and I sneak them in at 3 sometimes, all the way up to 14.
Okay.
But when I came home, I played in that program, so I knew how prestigious that program was.
Yeah.
So for me, coming back, it still kept me around the game I love, and when I walk in the gym, I see like all these talented kids, right?
Yeah.
So it's a 5th grader. He's almost like 5'11", 6 foot tall. I'm like, he's in the 5th grade. Turns out to be Wendell Carter,
Okay.
who plays for the Orlando Magic. Also in the gym, Chuma Okiki plays for the Orlando Magic. There's a kid named MJ Walker who was a future He was a future McDonald's All-American.
Wow. Now, did you train all these guys?
I didn't train all of them. I trained all of them at certain points.
Okay.
But I have to this day I still have really good relationships with them.
Yeah.
But out of that program, just countless of Division One prospects come from that program. That's why I have the relationships that I have. Even at one point, Walker Kessler, who plays for the Utah Jazz, he's played games. Brian Branch, cornerback for the Detroit Lions, he came through our program. So we just have a ton of like talented kids that come through our program.
So now, is that where you met Anthony Edwards?
So Ant's, I'm a South Side guy. So College Park is on the south side of town. Ant is actually a city of the Atlanta guy.
Okay.
City of Atlanta guy.
All right.
He's within 285. So Ant pretty much grew up playing in Oakland City, playing with the Atlanta Vikings on the west side of town. So of course, working in recreation, I always heard of this kid who was a extraordinary football player,
Okay.
but didn't really know of him as a basketball player. So, and just to bring it back, when I was running the program, I have a pretty good name around Georgia, just on the basketball scene. People know me from playing basketball. I was a top 10 player in the state coming out.
All right. So you can hoop.
Yeah. So a lot of people kind of know me from basketball, and me being around the kids, everybody say, man, you should start training, man. Like you could play. Like you should really start training these kids. All these guys are training kids, and they never really played at your level. They don't come from the lineage that you come from. Mm-hmm. And I would always say, no, I'm good. Then one day, dude named J-Man, he had a son that was pretty good. And I liked the son. He's a point guard. He's like, man, you should train my son. I pay you, make some money on the side.
Okay.
So I got out there and started working with him. And then it hit me. It's like, man, it gave me that same feeling that I got when I played the game.
But now you're giving back.
But now I'm giving back.
Yeah.
So when I started training, I just kind of instantly, fell in love back with, I started getting that feeling, and I fell back in love with the game again.
So then if Ant wasn't from that area, then how did you two come together?
After I started training, then I got into coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I started coaching our College Park program, and then I had a really good group of kids, and Atlanta Express, they wanted to recruit the team that I was coaching, which is the AAU program out of Atlanta. So I started coaching under that program. And the same guys that kind of convinced me to start training, it was a guy named E and a guy named J-Man. He called me one day. He's like, man, I got this kid that I think you really should start working with. He's like, me and his uncle are like best friends. He just lost his mom and his grandma within the last 6 months. I know you'll be, good to be in his life. Mm-hmm. And so one day, this 14-year-old, 6'1", 6'2" kid walks in the gym.
Holy, he was 6'1", 6'2" at 14 years old?
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, and I asked him what his name is. It says Anthony Edwards. And at the time, my name, I started like getting the name for training because I started really like doing some good work with some guys.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopping the drills, man, and that was the first day.
Now, I did some research on you, and it sounds like your work ethic in regards to how you train them is something that you obviously carry in today, and that's why you're so successful. But I heard that there'd be times where you be training at 4 a.m. and sometimes you're not coming home till midnight, and your wife, right, is calling you, asking, when are you going to come home?
Yeah, so I used to get off at 9 o'clock, so I couldn't train while I was on the clock. I worked at the gym, but I couldn't train actually on the clock, so I would train once I got off.
Okay.
And it worked out because Ant would be coming from basketball practice to me, and then we would kind of work out.
Yeah.
And at that point I had a really small group of elite kids.
Yes.
And Ant he was the baby of everybody.
Okay.
He was the youngest in the building.
What was he at that time with the kids that you're training, the all-star then as well?
No.
Okay.
I think if you were to ask Anthony at that point, did he think he would end up here today? The answer would be no. Complete no. He was a really high level athlete. He had those things that, God blessed him with that athleticism. Yeah. But as far as skill set, he didn't have a lot of it. He was an average basketball player.
He was average. Would he say that?
Yeah, he was average. He was definitely an average basketball player.
Okay.
But the guys that I put him in the gym with, these guys were going to play Division I. One of them was about to be a McDonald's All-American, and he's competing against those guys literally every day.
Okay.
And he was 2 years, 3 years younger than some of these guys.
So what I'm hearing is he got the importance of having a mentor, and then the importance of the circle that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So when did you move from Atlanta to Minnesota? And I believe I know the answer, but what what made you move then from Atlanta to Minnesota, and how long ago was it?
I moved to Atlanta from Atlanta to Minnesota once, Anthony got drafted.
So 2020?
2020.
Okay.
It was crazy. It was like a war zone when we came. We went from, watching the riots and the pandemic on television.
That was your first experience with Minnesota?
That was my first
Oh
experience in Minnesota.
oh my
Yeah, it was a
goodness.
pandemic draft,
Wow.
so we're watching things go up in flames from Atlanta. His name gets called, number one pick, Anthony Edwards goes to Minnesota. The next day, we land in Minneapolis, when everything was boarded up and downtown was barren.
So you come to Minnesota, Ant's playing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. When did AE5 Enterprises become a thing?
Once he got into the NBA, we had to come up with a business, for brand partners, and we came up with the name AE5 Enterprises. Once we started, when we actually established it, we had no business. We had zero business. We had no partners, no anything.
Okay.
And I told him then, I said, man, we're gonna actually build this out. We're gonna have an enterprise one day.
Yes, you are, and you
And
do.
and from that day forward, we started working. That day we established that, it wouldn't just be a name, but we're going to actually build enterprise around this kid.
So tell me, what is AE5 Enterprises as a company? What is it? Is it a holding company? Is it?
Yes, yes. So within AE5 Enterprises, sits his nonprofit, Don't Follow the Wave. Uh, Sits his AAU program, AE5 Elite, all his brand partners.
Okay.
Also sits our media company, 3/5 Media.
Okay. And I want to dive into each of those as we continue on here. Um, so for AE5 AAU basketball program,
Yes.
tell me about that.
Oh man, we have some extraordinary kids. We have about 120 kids in our program, starting from first grade, going up to juniors in high school,
And where at?
in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
So
Okay.
it's in Atlanta.
All
It's
right.
based on our home base. We're based out of the same gym that me and Ant started training at. A lot of those kids now that he had relationships with that would rebound for him, those kids are now some of the top kids in the state. And some of them top kids in the country.
Is that where I've seen some footage, and I think your man Trey filmed it, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, you guys give away like hundreds of pairs of shoes.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Is that?
that's a part of it. With our philanthropy, it's always about paying it forward. It's about God blesses you to be a blessing to others.
Amen.
From day one, we always talked about once we make it, we won't just leave and never come back. We'll always have home base, and we'll always make sure we take care of home first. So every year we always do a basketball camp. We have probably about 150 kids.
Yeah.
We pass out free shoes, free clothes. Our brand partners bring, Bowls gives speakers, Sprite provides beverages, Chipotle provides food.
Yeah.
We do it really big, and it's almost like a homecoming when we come back home. Guys, they've just been watching them on TV all year, but they actually get to physically, see them and touch them and hang out with them when we come back every year.
I love that you guys are giving back, and it's important to you to continue to give back to Atlanta. Um, Here in Minnesota, even my boys, are huge fans of Ant, and where he's like a superhero
All right.
to them, and I know that there's tons of kids here in Minnesota that are fans of Anthony Edwards. Do you guys have any plans to expand that program? Obviously, keep it in Atlanta, but also do it here in
No,
Minnesota.
for sure. Because we're still building out everything as far as the actual physical basketball program, but under Don't Follow the Wave, we already have initiatives that we've kind of been giving back to the community with Thanksgiving. I think last year we hosted several families at a black-owned restaurant.
Okay.
So help the businesses, help
Yeah.
the families.
Yeah.
I always try to look past the turkey drives because you can give somebody a turkey, but some people don't have places to cook the turkey. So we serve hot meals. Christmas, this year Christmas we brought 5 families to the game, gave them a whole experience. We paid their electric bills up for all the winter months.
Wow.
Our brand partners always came
Wow.
on board and they donated, shoes and speakers and headphones. And then they actually, we gave them a sweet experience. They got to come down, meet the guys on the court, and then after the game, of course, they got to meet Anthony.
Okay.
And just to see the smiles on those kids' faces is something that you just don't forget.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's about.
I just want to jump back to AE5. There's a lot of athletes who get into the private equity and the venture capital space. Is that something that you're interested in getting into, Justin?
No, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely jump into private equity. I think, when you're dealing with these professional athletes, they're earning so much money. So it's all about, financial literacy and finding the right vehicles to where you want to place your money. But Ant's so young. He's 23 years old. So we're, slow and steady wins the race. So, we work our way up. And then finding those right deals that makes the most sense.
And you and I have talked before about your heart for these kids and not just training them to play basketball and to learn that game, but also to have that financial literacy and for them to build their business empires. Tell me more about that.
We're living in an interesting space now where in this NIL environment, it's all about education and educating the parents, educating the players, and approaching this thing different. I see way too many guys, they're making generational money now in college, and some even sooner.
Generational in college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of these numbers that they're throwing around are real numbers.
Wow.
2, 3, 400, over 1 million, some, and they're making that now in college, and like I said, some even in high school.
Okay.
So it's about educating them. I have some partnerships with some finance companies where we're setting them up with financial literacy courses that actually they're teaching kids and parents how to manage your money, how taxes works, and thinking for the long term and not just now.
For those kids out there that are watching and they are either at that level or they're going to be at that level, whether it's their parents watching, them watching, how could they get in touch with you to get that financial literacy so that they're thinking about what they can do besides buying, that $300,000 sports car and that $100,000 diamond necklace? Like, how can they get in touch with you to set themselves up to be able to make money for them?
We're launching our website, AE5Enterprises.com.
Okay.
And you'll be able to reach out to our foundation, leave your information that way, and we'll be able to, touch, we'll do touch points. And we also have been doing these series of panels. We did it. We started it last year at All Star in Indianapolis, where we bring in minority kids from whatever city that the All Star game's in. We bring about 40 to 60 kids in, and we do a panel of young professionals and executives that that look like these kids. For me, a lot of kids don't realize, what opportunities are out there. Everybody, when you ask them, I want to be a professional basketball player, football player, rapper. What else is out there? A lot of kids, they only dream for those things because that's what they see most of.
Yeah.
So I try to put other opportunities in front of these kids to where they can see, oh, I can be an executive. I can be in sports, and I don't have to be on the court. I can be around the game. So we provide opportunities and put them in front of these executives, and we interact with them, and it's different because when you don't know who's in the room, behind these guys, you just assume they don't look like you. And then, so we make sure we do a good job of, showing these kids that, no, you can aspire to be here, and you can be here because we're already here.
And so if these kids and these parents want to attend one of those, they'll be able to eventually go onto the website, and maybe there'll be announcements or some type of schedule.
Yes. If you see this, right now, we like I said, we're doing it every All Star. So this year will be our second annual that we'll be doing in the Bay. We'll be doing it in San Francisco. We did a series in Atlanta, and we'll also bring the same series. We'll bring it to Minnesota as well.
Okay, great. I love your heart, Justin.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Moving into 3/5 Media. Did I say that right?
3/5 Media.
I always want to say like 3/5 Mafia.
Not 3/6.
3/6 Mafia. 3/6 Mafia. So 3/5 Media. How did that name get created?
So Trey actually, I gotta give the credit to our partner. So Three Fifths Media consists of the owners, Anthony, of course, Trey McCain, and myself.
Okay.
So Trey's a visionary, man. Trey's a creative, and he called me one day. He's like, "Man, I got the name for the company, man. It's Three Fifths Media." At one point, they only view black people as not even a whole human, but 3/5 as a man. So we're flipping it, and we're changing the narrative and saying, we belong in these rooms as well, and we can do it on the largest scale.
That's deep. That's deep.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing that with me. All right, so tell me about 3/5 Media. I did my research and I found out that you guys have already done stuff with, I believe it's called Showtime Basketball. Were you guys involved with the movie The Hustle?
We weren't involved in Hustle. No, we
Okay.
weren't involved in Hustle.
All right, and then how about the new Netflix series that came out, Starting Five, which Anthony Edwards is
Yes,
part of?
Trey was filming and also providing content for Starting Five as well. So yeah, we were very much involved.
What is the goal for 3/5 Media? Like, what do you guys envision? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be
Oh, it's gonna be
a
it's-
mega empire.
It will be an empire. When it started, actually, we started thinking this way early on. Just looking at the people that came before us, looking at what LeBron did, looking at what Steph Curry did, looking at what Kevin Durant did. We started having these conversations around when Anthony was probably 16 years old.
When he
About
was 16.
yeah, about owning your own IP, your own intellectual property. You're going to be this talent, but don't just be the talent, be the owner.
Yes, sir.
Own,
Yes, sir.
own your content.
Yes.
So from day one, we had that thought in mind. When you think Spring Hill and the magnitude of how big they grew, that's what we aspire to scale to. To be that new generation, that new wave of entertainment. Telling authentic stories, stories that identify to us, stories that we want the world to hear, and making sure our stories are told.
Is there a story that you're either passionate about or that you would just love? Right? Is it a human being? Is it an entity? Like, what type of story are you like, man? If we could tell that story, like, that'd be the one.
I think the story that we want to tell is a story that we start off thinking about, like Anthony's story, Anthony's journey, which is still being written.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so much that people don't know about, where he came from, how hard he worked, the things that he's gone through, some of the situations that we've been in. I think that story, when it's our time for the last dance, that's going to be the story that I probably look most forward to tell.
Hmm. You just said that a lot of people look at Anthony Edwards and who he is today, but they don't know his whole backstory. And I think that's true for all successful people. Individuals look at successful people and they're like, well, he's always been like that. Justin Holland's always been
Yeah.
successful. He's always been in the shoes that he's been in today. And it's not the case.
It's always easy to say that, right?
Yeah.
Until you hear our story or see our story. It's all about the grind, man. It's about the process. I have I had a company actually called Respect the Process. And that was like my mantra throughout this whole process. Under all our videos, we would work out. It's always respect the process.
That was like your tagline.
That's my tagline. It's
Okay.
not, a lot of people say trust the process. Sure, trust it, but a lot of people don't have respect for the process.
Tell me more about that. I want to dive into respect the process. What does that mean to you?
For me, just like you said, those individuals, they may say, Justin's always been here, Tony's always been here. They got it easy. They lucked up because they don't respect the process and the work that goes into.
Yeah.
Everybody,
The grit, the hustle, the grind.
Nobody sees the work. Everybody just sees the results. People aren't successful on accident. I always tell people, or you get lucky. Like, no, the lucky people get lucky because they put themselves in the best position to get lucky. They're prepared for the opportunity.
That's right. That's right.
When the opportunity meets preparation.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, one thing I think that, everybody's going to now know about you as well is that you didn't just become successful and say goodbye to everybody. I mean, you put in a real effort to give back, Justin. Tell me about Don't Follow the Wave. So that's your guys' nonprofit.
Yeah, that's our nonprofit.
Right?
Yep.
How did Don't Follow the Wave become the name?
Don't follow the wave. Like I said, we try to do everything that, with meaning, everything that's authentic. So we came up with that name. There was an interview around I want to say McDonald's All-American game. And I think the interviewer was asking Anthony, why did he choose Georgia? Why didn't he, go blue blood? Why didn't he choose Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina? And he turned and goes, because I don't follow the wave. You know what I mean? Which means, we order our own steps. We blaze our own path. We're coming to change the game and doing it in a unique way that only we could do it.
I was watching a podcast that you and Ant did, and he talked about that, of how he picked Georgia because it would be 45 minutes from, I believe, his sister.
hmm
So it wouldn't be so much of a burden for her. There's some individuals that say, oh, he's cocky and he's this or that, but no, he's putting family first.
You gotta uplift the ones around you.
Yeah.
And that's always been our thing. So we've never been a group of organization of guys that just hang around or just hang out. It's always about putting people in position to win.
So tell me, let's jump back to Don't Follow the Wave, your nonprofit. What communities do you serve, and how do you serve them?
Kind of what we just talked about with exactly what we just talked about with the panels, with give backs, toy drives. Our AU program actually goes to feed the homeless. Even from the grassroots level, I make sure that everybody's giving back, because everybody can give back in a certain way.
Is there a bigger mission or plan for Don't Follow the Wave?
Just that the panel activations that we're doing, the panel series that we're doing. I want to continue to grow those and possibly turn it into a satellite program where people can tune in and they can get access to those resources that we're giving to that select group that are in person, and we can do that. We can do that on a consistent basis. I think that's probably one of our overall goals.
Okay. And with Don't Follow the Wave, it's a nonprofit. So is it just constantly being funded then by you and Ant, or can you guys actually use some help from others to help fund it and help the youth as well?
Yeah, no, we can definitely use help. I think early on, actually, we've probably been funding most of it ourselves. We have a few donors, but this year, like, one of my main focuses is to get the word out. So I'm actually glad we're doing this podcast. Anybody that wants to help, please do, because it'll help us further our mission and help those in need, and it'll also help. Like I said, for me, it's about just empowering and educating our community, man, because there's such lack of education and resources. And for me, I want to make sure that I can be used as a tool to make sure that I'm spreading that information around so we can uplift everybody.
With the AAU program, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Don't Follow the Wave, are there any volunteer opportunities where people could get involved?
Yes.
To help? Okay.
Yes. Once we have our website actually relaunched, which will be happening soon, AE5 Enterprises, we'll have a drop down link for each tier. The AE5 program, Don't Follow the Wave organization as a whole. It'll be information about Ant, our brand partners, and there'll also be information about 3/5 Media and the projects that we have coming out.
Okay. And then if they wanted to donate, will they be able to do that through the website?
That's already available. We already have a donation link, and feel free. We'll have contact information, and we'll definitely reach out to you guys, and we'll make sure we build that connection.
Would you mind getting in your personal life?
Yeah, no, feel free.
Okay. So you're married.
Yeah.
You got 2 kids.
Got 2.
One brand new spanking boy.
Keeping me up all night. I got a 7-year-old and a 4-month-old. There's never a dull moment in my house.
Yeah.
My 7-year-old, man, of course, he loves sports and plays piano and does jujitsu, and he likes to beat up on my buddies in basketball. So me and my wife, we've been married 8 years now.
I want to hear more about her. So, being the position that you're in, I mean, you're a father, you're a husband, you're the CEO of an empire that you guys have already built and is really just on the
we're in the beginning.
Right in the beginning. And I know that you travel not just around the country, but you travel around the world. Like, how do you balance that? But also, let's go to your wife, and I mean, she has to be an angel, a saint, and a cheerleader, and strong.
I think God sent me the right woman, man. My wife is she's one of my best supporters. Even from day one, she believed in my vision. She trusted my vision, and she was down for the ride. Before we even came to Minnesota, we actually uprooted our family and went to the University of Georgia the year that Anthony was there.
Okay.
And that was a big jump for us.
Okay.
To be able to to leave everything that we had going on, pretty much trust this 18-year-old kid and follow his vision.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that he was successful, and thank God it panned out.
It did with abundance.
Yeah, with abundance, and but my wife, she knows how much I care about Anthony for one, and the kids that I care about, and anybody I care about, she cares about them double, and she holds down the fort when I'm on the road, and I'm building the empire. She makes sure the kingdom at home stays good.
So, what advice would you give to a young CEO who's coming up and he's thinking about getting married, right? He's got his girl, but how do you know that she's the one that can actually really be with you for that ride to achieve those dreams and those kind of at those levels?
Don't ignore obvious signs. For one, if you got to have you one that actually understands where you're going, knows where you're trying to get to, and that is aligned with your mission and what you want to do. Having transparent conversations, and then from there, if you feel like that's the one that that can be your ride or die, and jump on the train, whether the wheels fall off or not. I think that's the one that you want to stick with.
You mentioned that you care for Anthony. What are you most proud of Anthony Edwards for right now?
Basketball aside, just the young man that he's become, father, family man, um, you know, being 23 with, an organization on your shoulders, the leader he's become, vocally, through his actions, just his maturity, man. Because I've been knowing him since he was 14.
Yeah.
So watching him from a kid to now having his own, it's a special moment.
How about Raven Johnson?
Raven,
I mean,
baby girl.
I had the pleasure of meeting her as you introduced her to me actually at a Timberwolves game, and salt of the earth type gal. What are you most proud of Raven?
We started together the same way that me and Ant did. We put countless hours in the gym, man. She went from 40s, 50s ranking to number 2 player in the country just based off that process that I was talking about. We set goals. I said this is what it's going to take to get there, and she committed to it. Every day.
Two-time NCAA
2-time.
women's basketball champion.
Yeah, 2-time. Like and being there last year in the championship game and watching her guard Caitlin Clark. People calling her the Caitlin Clark stopper, and and Caitlin's one of the best to ever do it. That just made me proud, man. Not to only have like one McDonald's All-American, but to have 2 McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I actually have 3. I'm sorry, MJ Walker. So not to have 1 in Ant, but to have 2 in her. Also training MJ Walker 3. But Raven and Anthony going back to back almost, and so I have a Slam magazine.
Okay.
And they both are on the cover of the Slam magazine, ironically.
What?
Yeah, so that's just something to be proud of, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just don't think there are many people that could say that they have, they had 2 kids on the cover of Slam magazine at the same time. Ones that they actually started from the bottom and actually, worked their butt off from this point to this point. So she makes me proud every day. And now looking at her, she has a brand partnership. She's making her money. She's happy. So, they're happy, I'm happy.
Now the third one that you just mentioned, tell me about him.
MJ was one of my first core kids as well too. MJ he was Mr. Everything. He was McDonald's All-American, Mr. Georgia basketball. Ended up going to play at Florida State. I believe he got drafted by the Knicks coming out of college. So yeah, that's all our camp, man. And I really, it's literally a family affair. When you're with us, we all look out for each other. When we cross paths, we have a good time. But yeah,
What I've seen within you guys is you have a really tight circle, and I imagine that you at this level it's important that you keep it that way.
the entertainment space is it's not the nicest industry for one. There are not a lot of real people in this industry. So you just gotta always keep the ones that you know you can trust and depend on. You just got to keep them close to you.
Is that advice that you would give to the up and comers?
Oh, no question. Anybody that was there for you and that you know truly love you for who you are, ones that you trust, don't let anybody infiltrate that. Don't let these companies and these businesses tell you, these agencies tell you that your way won't work. Don't let them tell you that your people aren't good enough. If they were good enough to get you there, they're good enough to sustain you and take you further.
Well, we're kind of coming to a close here, but if individuals wanted to follow you on social media, how could they do that? You on Facebook, Instagram? I mean, where are you at?
My Instagram is J 3 underscores Holland, HOLLAND,
Okay.
on Instagram.
Okay.
Pretty easy to find.
Yes, sir. Justin, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to do this with me.
No
I
problem.
cherish our friendship. I admire you, all that you've accomplished, and you're just at the beginning stages of that hockey stick growth. So
And I appreciate you, Tony, man. I love and respect you too, brother, man.
I
You're
love and
the
respect
only
you
reason
too.
I will be here, man. Thank you, brother.
thank you. So to all the viewers out there, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.